Welcome back, Duelists. Casual Duelist here, and I've got another speed duel deck for you this week. So this one is sort of a informal request from one of my teammates, and buddy, you know which one you are. So I did a profile on Gravekeepers months ago, and it's such a fun deck, and the new support in the Battle City does really make that more viable. And now that I'm done running through all the new skills, it's time to revisit it. So let's get into Speed Duel Gravekeepers. And I do have an optional like a tech out that affects the actual whole build, because I just couldn't see a way to fit either or. So treat this like it's two deck profiles today, okay? So first off, we're going to start with our skill card. Obviously, we're going to want a Shizu. And best skill for Gravekeepers right now is Tomb of the Pharaoh. Honestly, this card will end up in the field spell zone, obviously, as it says field spell there. This card is always treated as Necro Valley, and all Gravekeepers on the field will gain 200 attack and defense. So kind of a really pale comparison to the main game or Masterclass Necro Valley, but it is what we have to work with. I am going to set this over here. I know I normally don't read the card effects through when I'm doing this part, but I just wanted you to understand this is way better than a lot of the Gravekeeper, which would allow you, every time you take 1,800 cumulative damage, to add a Gravekeeper card to your hand. So for the rest of the deck, we are going to want 3 copies of Gravekeeper's Assailant, a single copy Gravekeeper's Chief, single copy Gravekeeper's Oracle, 2 copies Gravekeeper's Recruiter, and definitely 2 copies of Jinzo. Over to the spells, you're going to want 3 copies of Lure Darkness. And again, you can trade this down by 1 if you like. We are going to run 3 copies of Book of Moon, which is good. We do have the single Cosmic Cyclone in the main. And then this is where things get different. In this version, I wanted to be a little more aggressive and proactive about going after the opponent. So I added in 2 copies of Rite of Spirit. The card that doesn't exactly jive with that would be the 2 copies Hidden Temples of the Necro Valley. In this version of the game, not as searchable as it is in Masterclass. And this will stop you from special summoning as well as your opponent. And is also reliant on Necro Valley being on the field. And so the only way to truly do that is to have a field spell and be using either Tomb of the Pharaoh or I want to say it was Priestess. And due to consistency issues, I took Hidden Temples out. However, if you like that version of Control, Rite of Spirit is my normal swap out, or you could drop the Allure of Darkness down to 2 and take 1 Rite of Spirit and 1 Allure of Darkness. So that's that. We are going to also utilize 2 copies Zoma the Spirit. We are going to have my generic extra deck again today. Arcana Knight at 1, double Ultimate, single Senshi, and double Thousand Eyes Restrict. And going into the sideboard, again, it's pretty generic for me anymore. Using the single Kaiser Glider, another Cosmic Cyclone in the side, 2 Crossouts, and 2 Waking the Dragon. This way we can get our extra deck cards. So, if you guys were just here for the deck profile, thank you for stopping by. I'm glad that, well, at least I hope that you enjoyed this. If this helped you, please consider hitting the subscription. But more importantly, at least for me, please let your friends know about the channel. We've been getting pretty noticed as of late, breaking some personal goals, which is fantastic. And I can't do that without you guys. So thank you. But class is dismissed. You guys are free to have an excellent day, and I really do hope that you do have a great day. You guys go watch another video. Doesn't even have to be mine. Just go have a good day. Everybody else, we already covered what Tomb of the Pharaoh does. So let's just quickly run the deck as best as possible. So Gravekeeper's Assailant, one of my favorite cards. Much better than the Masterclass ish. He had a time period. It was pretty much GOAT format. What this card is going to do for you, we'll gain the 200 from your Tomb of the Pharaoh. And when this card declares an attack while Necro Valley is on the field, hence our Tomb of the Pharaoh, we can target a face-up monster the opponent controls and change that target's battle position. This was especially great during like Reaper format because we were able to we normally struck out first with the Spear Soldier, and then we'd get the pierce damage, and then of course the Reaper would now be face up, and we were able to just go ahead, attack, declare it to change its battle position because it was targeted by a card effect and wasn't face down or off the field by that point. Then it blew up, which caused a battle redo, which then allowed us to attack directly or pick another target for our assailant's attack, as the number of monsters on the opposing side had changed quantity. Speed Duel still being pretty much in its infancy, and again, a lot of the inner conflict decks out there are running as a pseudo Monarch. Defenses are not as good as offenses. Now, of course, this isn't going to get the same type of power buff that we got in the Master Class. Again, we were up 500. This card was 2k 4-star. Much better. But we're still going to be able to punish a lot of cards and still get to play through a lot of stuff. So 3 assailants. The single chief, again, we got our tribute monsters up to 4 for this build. Chief is almost not a tribute monster, which makes him amazing. You can only control 1 Gravekeeper's chief at a time. Your graveyard is unaffected by Necro Valley. Not really a big deal right now because Necro Valley isn't doing the main game effect. And when this is tribute summoned, we can target a Gravekeeper's monster in my discard pile, and I get to special summon that back, and it does not say level 4 or lower. So, if you have Oracle, and Oracle's already, been tossed to the graveyard, we could tribute Recruiter to get the Chief to do the stuff, and yes, you could bring back another big character like that, and that would be fine. Again, 1 is more than enough, especially in Speed Duel. I mean, it's a 20-card deck. You really don't want to waste too many spots on him, but he is still good for helping to swarm and lay into the opponent's life points. We do have Oracle. Now, Too Long didn't read most of the time, right? But this guy's actually kind of a cool boss monster. First off, he's got 10 stars. Fantastic, whatever. The effect is we can tribute 3 monsters or 1 Gravekeeper's monster to tribute summon, but not set this card. When this is tribute summoned, we may activate any of the following effects and resolve them in sequence up to the number of Gravekeeper monsters tributed for the summon. Okay, so you either tribute 3 monsters, not all of them have to be Gravekeepers, or you could just do 1 monster and it would be a Gravekeeper. So you can technically choose to have anywhere between 1 and 3 effects. Most of the time while I'm playing this, it's going to be 1 effect. If you were to choose more than 1 effect, then you would have to perform them, just run down the list. So the first effect, this card gains attack equal to the combined level of all monsters tributed for its tribute summon, whatever they had on the field times 100. So in this deck, like if we tributed Chief is a 5, that'd be adding 500, then bring this guy up to 2,500. That's not terrible, especially if you're going to go all in and be able to tribute 3 cards. Most of the time, I'm not going to do that. I can use the second one, and this is why the crossouts are actually in the side this time. Destroy all set monsters your opponent controls. And again, we have Books of Moon. We can book our opponent's monsters, then tribute into this, and wipe out more monster cards. So it doesn't even really need to be a fully defensive build that we're playing against in order to maximize our destructive capability with that effect. And the last one's okay too. All monsters your opponent currently control lose 2,000 attack and defense. This is the one I use the most. And again, if they only had 2,000 or less, they are like hitting wet paper bags. They have no stats, which will allow, again, a very quick and decisive end to the match. Now, I only played him at 1, and that's because Recruiter is the next card. And once you see Recruiter, you will see that every one of my Gravekeeper's cards are actually searchable through him, and even when he's tributed. So let's talk about him. If this card you control is sent to the graveyard, control means it has to be on the field, doesn't have to be face up, it just has to go to the graveyard. So in the Master Game, we could do that on a Link, we could do that on a Fusion, we could do that on a Tribute, but not an Xyz, because again, Xyz, there would be that whole generic zone that goes underneath the card. It's not technically on the field. And Synchro would work as well. When this is a card that you control sent to the graveyard, Add one Gravekeeper's monster with 1,500 or less defense from the deck to the hand. Now, he himself has 15. The Assailant is 15 by 15. Chief is 19 by 12. And Oracle is 20 by 15. So, any one of my Gravekeepers, absolutely searchable. And it doesn't even have to be that he died getting destroyed. It could have just been, I tributed up. So I could play him for Chief, get him back, while adding Oracle to my hand. Perfect. So that's all fine. And 2 Jinzos, again, we want to null out traps as soon as possible, even though we are using a couple. We just don't want to fall into some random things, that's all. During the spells, we get the 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. Again, this should allow us to draw into whatever we need almost immediately, and that's why Jinzo's at 2, and Recruiter's at 2, and Assailant's at 3. Those are our most useful targets. You don't want to try to hit your 1-ofs, and if you do have to hit a 1-of, Chief would be the one I would get rid of, not the Oracle. Draw 2 cards, banish a dark, and if you can't banish the dark, you drop your hand. Fantastic. Book of Moon, again, we can use this offensively with Oracle to actually set up our opponent's monsters for the destruction. Or again, we just keep using it the way that we're using it to just be amazing. Blocking attacks, shutting down effect loops by booking the monster fast, using it as a trap card. And again, there's going to be a couple of decks where this just doesn't work, like anything that uses spellproof armor. That's fine, it's going to happen. But spellproof armor seems to be less and less played, even though it's not any less playable, if that makes any sense to you guys. And of course, the 1 Cosmic Cyclone, because we want to make sure that we are handling back row business when we want to go for game and when we're trying to strike out and when we're setting up for the right plays. So we want to make sure that we're not falling into that. For our traps, we are going to use the 2 Rites of Spirit. This is essentially Monster Reborn for your Gravekeeper card. Normally, this would be unaffected by Necro Valley, and again, Necro Valley doesn't do what it does in the Master game. So this is just special summoning any Gravekeeper back from your graveyard. And again, if you perform like a Chief Recruiter, and you can Rite of Spirit 1 other card, like an Assailant or something, you could go into an Oracle where you're going to get all 3 effects. And that could be somewhat special. And then, of course, the 2 copies, Zoma the Spirit. Again, Inner Conflict is a thing. If we need a tribute that isn't a Gravekeeper, we can still use this to get into Chief to then generate a Gravekeeper that is already in the discard pile. That is a play. And it's another way to get that 3rd tribute when going for a full power Oracle. But it's definitely in here for the Inner Conflict first and foremost. Again, the extra deck is the 1 Arcana, the 2 Ultimates, the Senshi, and the Restrict. I think you guys are tired of me talking about it, so I'm just going to put those back there. Again, Kaiser Glider, great for the Pseudo-Monarch matchups. Can't be killed by battle with a monster that has the same attack, so it's either beating the monster, it's tying with it and still coming out the survivor, or if it is destroyed, and it doesn't have to just be by battle, it could be by card effects, and it does get sent to the discard pile, target a monster on the field, and bounce that card to the hand. Kaiser Glider, unsung hero of the time period, and I would love to build a deck just around him. We do have the 2nd Cosmic Cyclone in case the back row is thicker and heavier than we anticipated. The double Crossout in case we are against something that is more defensive in style. And of course, the 2 Waking the Dragons. When they're going after our Rites of Spirit, or they're going after our Zoma. We do want the Waking the Dragon. Potentially is just something that's going to distract them. When they do try to get it off the field, it's going to let us get into our extra deck. We're either going to have a big beater, we're going to have a reversal move, Senshi for some stability, or Arcana Knight, because we have a good amount of cards in this deck of different types, and so we will be able to negate a lot of things that are targeting him. Additionally, like I said, you could take out maybe 1 Allure and 1 Rite of Spirit, or both Rites of Spirit, in order to play Hidden Temples of the Necro Valley instead. But again, this is a little trickier because you can only activate this if both a Gravekeeper's monster is on the field and Necro Valley. Neither player can special summon monsters except Gravekeeper's monsters, which again would allow you to honestly, you should probably take out the third allure and one of the rites of spirit and then do that. You could also lower your Zoma count, because that would help. And then, of course, if either the monster or the field spell ceases to be on your side of the field, then you gotta destroy this card. So it's not as good. It's way better in the master game and very good at setting lockups or lockdowns. And so I figured I'd talk about it. I didn't want to use it personally today. I wanted to go a little more aggressive, and I think I did that. And I really do hope that you guys enjoy this. I hope you guys get a chance to play this. Probably one of the most expensive cards in this whole thing is actually going to be the skill card. But this is like the first or second set, so this actually should have come down in price a little bit. And I believe everything else was this all like starter deck at the beginning of the game. You get these common in the Battle City. These were the Bakura structure deck. That's Battle City, original structure deck. These are in a structure deck. Okay, the extra deck might be a little pricey. The only thing that really comes in a structure would be the restricts, and everything else here is either common or Battle City. So, again, thank you guys for watching. I got a little bit more work to do. I got some more decks for you guys this week, and I am going to. I've been asked a couple of times to generate a how-to. A small series of videos that I'm going to put in a playlist. And if you guys have friends that are, want to get into the game, or maybe there's some elements of the game that you're just not as confident with, maybe, what's going to happen is I'm going to do like the how to play, how to do speed duel, how to resolve this, that, the other. And I'm going to make a short series of how-to videos for Yu-Gi-Oh! And hopefully that'll help out. I will release them a little bit slowly. I don't want to crowd your guys' feed, because again, there are a decent number of you already subscribed, and it's one of those things that I wish I could just like silently put up. But you will get notifications for that if you have that bell clicked or whatever. So please don't unsub over that. It's just a tool for the people who need it. And I think it'd be nice to put that out there for them. You guys have a great day, and I got to get back to work, so I'll see you later.